Good morning. How's everyone doing? Are we all ready? We're going to get started. Let me set some ground rules, make sure everyone gets their questions in and get the time and follow up whatever they need as we proceed. So I'm going to try to make a statement first, and then I'll open it up for questions. I'll try to go through at least one round. I see that there's quite a few reporters, so if we need to do 2 rounds, I'm apprehensive about it because we'll be up here an hour. So if you can just be on point with your questions, maybe we can get through it with a reasonable time, if you don't mind. So I'm going to call on you, and then at the end, I'm sure some of you will raise your hand and try to interject one last follow-up, but we've got a little way to kind of get on down the road, if you don't mind. So first of all, I'm retiring after 33 years, not resigning. I'm retiring after 33 years of service. Spent almost all of my adult life here with the Dallas Police Department as a Dallas cop, and I wouldn't have had it any other way. And as I said in my statement, I really appreciate all the citizens of Dallas for allowing me to serve in the city where I grew up. I'm a 3rd-generation Dallasite, so I have a lot of personal investment in this city, and I really love Dallas. And so it's been an honor, and it's been humbling to serve as the Dallas Police Chief. And I have so many people that stand out to me that I want to thank, that I'm afraid I'll miss one. So you know who you are: friends, family, co-workers who have been there for me during the good and bad times. I just want to say a big thank you. Even to the critics, I really appreciate your challenging me in this department to achieve at a high level. I think criticism, if it's taken with the right perspective, can be your best teacher. And so I really appreciate even the critics. It's all good today, so I just have not a bad word to say about anyone or any politics. I just really wanted to be out front and take questions. I'm sure there are at least 2 that I've ascertained that I've heard are big questions. 1, why are you retiring? Number 2, what are you going to do next? So can I try to deal with that so you won't have to all ask those same 2 questions like 15 times? So why are you retiring is the first big question. Number 1, it's been 33 years. It's time to go. It's time to retire. That's a long time to be somewhere. But really, more importantly, I came here to serve in any capacity that the department chose to assign me to. I really thought that being a public servant was a high calling, and I really have been excited the entire time to serve this city. So I felt like I've accomplished the goal of serving over 33 years. Secondly, police chiefs in this city and in this country have a shelf life, and they have an expiration date. And it is you shouldn't want to overstay your welcome. And this next comment is going to sound kind of weird, but it's really how I feel, and so I want to be authentic. Because serving is so important to me, I start hearing whispers after July 7th of me being untouchable, right? Of me being powerful now, since I had national notoriety. And it felt self-serving. The notoriety feels self-serving. And my ability to serve and to be criticized and have your job at stake was uncomfortable to me. It really is. I think the job of a police chief is to be challenged. The job of a public servant is to be criticized, and that it's the media's job and the citizens' job to hold us accountable. And the idea of being untouchable has not felt right to me. It has not. And one of the things that really tugged at me after my 33rd anniversary, which was August the 2nd, it was my 33rd anniversary of my 33rd year as a Dallas police officer. That's one of the things that I weighed heavily, is that am I something different than I wanted to be? I want to be a servant. I want to be, on the spot, held accountable for performing. And the idea of some notoriety related to a tragedy making me untouchable was distasteful to me. It is still something that I don't prefer, if that makes sense. I know that's kind of, I'm just being honest. The second question is, what are you going to do next? I have been receiving quite a few opportunities since announcing my retirement in a statement. I'm weighing all of those options, and I'm sure me and my family will pray and make the right decision for my future. I'm not going to share those particular offers with you. That's between me and my baby, okay, if you don't mind. And as soon as I make a decision, I'm sure you all will know on what direction I'll go in next in life. And no matter how you pry, no matter how you ask that question, my answer is going to be, that's between me and my baby. All right? And unless you're my new baby, you're not getting that answer. So I'm sure there are still a lot of other questions, but those were the top two I wanted to get out of the way. And we have an arrangement, and I'm going to try to go across and answer every question to all the reporters that have checked in. So let's start with CNN, Ed Lavendera. Ed, how are you?
Great.
Good morning.
Let me try. So everyone else. Is private sector, public life continue? Will you go?
That's between me and my baby. Let me put it another way, Ed, because I don't think that's being clear enough. That ain't nobody's business but me and my babies.
Some people might want to know if we're going to see more of you, or you're going to hide away in an office somewhere.
Yeah, that ain't nobody's business but me and my babies. You got a follow-up question, Ed? Thank you so much, Byron Harris. Thank you.
What's been the most satisfying? You had two sentences to summarize the most satisfying part of your job over the last 33 years.
Number one, serving the citizens of Dallas. Number two, working alongside some of the most honorable people that you will find anywhere. My coworkers with the Dallas Police Department. These Dallas police officers are noble, and it's fascinating to watch them work. And I've been obviously challenged by the cops, but man, at every point where we needed cops to do their job, they've done an outstanding job. So I'm just proud to have served with such honorable men and women. That's been really the two sentences that really the takeaway for these past 33 years.
How have you changed?
I think I've been, I'm continuing to be naive about what I can do. I came here after dropping out of my senior year at the University of Texas at Austin because of what was happening where I lived. 3500 Overton Road, Village Oaks apartment is where I lived. And I left South Oak Cliff High School from that apartment complex to UT Austin. And every summer, there wasn't a summer where I came back where I saw deterioration related to the drug trade. A lot of violence. All of my friends changed that stayed here. And I was restless at school, couldn't focus on studying. I had family living in the complex, so I was worried about them, my brothers, my mother. I was worried about all of my friends. They looked and sounded different. I grew up with these people. And so much so, I dropped out. It wasn't a popular decision with me and my family to drop out and put in an application with the Dallas Police Department. It's one of the things that during the July 7th comments to media, to protesters, it wasn't a slant or anything. I think it's an effective way to solve some of the problems we're facing in this country, is to have inner city kids become police officers and patrol the neighborhoods where they grew up. And I really believe that's part of the solutions that we, as a profession, have to explore. How do we hire, attract people who are most affected by police-involved shootings, by poverty, by unemployment, by poor performing schools. How do we get those people on the beat, patrolling, or in civilian jobs, helping us in a support capacity make our inner cities, our big cities safer? So I still believe that all can happen. And maybe I'm being naive, Byron, that can happen, but I believe that so much so, a big part of what I want to do next is to be involved in making that happen from a national perspective. How do you inspire people who are currently now believing that protesting is one of the ways to resolve some of the issues in the criminal justice system? I think that may be one of the ways, but I don't think that's the only way. And I just have a personal story to tell that I hope will get some young people from my old neighborhood and others like it across this country to put in an application and hire on. And my first beat was my old neighborhood, happenstance. And I felt, and I still feel a great sense of accomplishment in rendering it safer. Aaron? Hi.
I'd like to know, how does it feel to be leading something you've been doing for 33 years and it's been so long?
Right. The question from Aaron was, how does it feel leaving something that's so important to you? It's hard taking the uniform off. It's part of the reason why I don't want a long goodbye. It is so emotional. It's an emotional roller coaster. But the time is right. It is. You look at the political landscape here in Dallas. You look at what's happening with a lot of different issues with our department, what's happening across the country. I feel like I've accomplished laying the groundwork for building upon a community policing philosophy. I think Dallas is an example for the country. I'm really excited about the increases in applications to join the police department, different than any other city, and it's continuing. And a lot of these kids that are coming are inner city kids. So it's so exciting that at least the groundwork has been laid for the Dallas Police Department to continue to shine and to be an example for other departments. Claudia?
This is a two-part question.
Okay.
I know you had said that the reaction to July 7th has played into your decision to retire now in some ways, but do you have any qualms about leaving so soon after the tragedy? And then second part, does your leaving signal that the police department investigation portion is over?
So number one, that is not accurate that the July 7th incident played a role in my retirement. That is not accurate. Nor is it accurate, I know the mayor mentioned that I had been contemplating over a year or soon after the city manager said he would retire. Really, as a police chief, you want to quit every day at the end of the shift. You really do. There's something that happens, some rookie does something, some veteran does something that just say, man, I just quit. And the thing that gets you to come back is that service so much outweighs anything negative that happens that you suit up again the next day. And the next day, and before you know it, it's 33 years. But again, I go back to the time is right for me and my family after much prayer. It was a quick decision, not a long, lingering one. I could name occasions through 33 years where I wanted to quit, and it would have been justified. I mean, I could name an incident. Man, I was treated bad by this person, or this thing happened, or this excessive force caught on video that was just so distasteful, I want to quit. But serving people and seeing the results is so priceless. You just have to be, officers can describe it better than me, but it is such a satisfying thing to be able to serve. But the reality is police chiefs in this country, average tenure is 3 years, and I'm over 6, headed towards 7, and the shelf life has expired. And it's time to pass the baton to someone else. I think I leave the department in great shape. I hope that we don't veer from community policing. I think it's the recipe for bringing and bridging the gap between communities of color and police departments. And I look forward to having some role, I hope, in my next opportunity. Did I answer both?
Well, the second one is if you're intervening at this time to signify that the police department's portion of the investigation into July 7th is over, has been passed with the DA's office.
Well, it's not complete, and it has not been passed to the DA's office. The question was, has the July 7th criminal investigation been completed and passed to the DA's office? No, it is not complete. No, it has not been passed to the DA's office. I suspect it will soon be completed and passed to the DA's office for presentation to the grand jury. And then it has to be scheduled. So there's still, I think, some time before some of the open records requests can be dealt with. I know you all want a lot of the gory details, but again, we're just making sure we, dot our I's and cross all our T's with that investigation before it's passed to the DA. Tasha?
So you mentioned that you want to see things like community policing continue after you leave. You've made a lot of big decisions this year in some of the task forces and the efforts you've been doing, maybe a lot of recent promotions. So how do you see the police department continuing after you leave under an interim police chief? Will a lot of those policies stay the same? Do you want them to stay the same?
Well, I certainly don't want to dictate what happens after I leave. I really am going to put everybody on phone block. I tell you that right now. And I don't suspect I'll be chiming in to what direction the next chief or the acting chief will take. But just as a kind of from a 30,000-foot view, I think the evidence is pretty clear that enforcement only and arresting your way out of crime has not worked in this country, that incarcerating a lot of people has not worked in this country as far as keeping us safer. And I think we ought to explore other approaches like community policing, but that's not limiting this department or others to trying even other types of policing efforts. But community policing, if you just look at the data, is supported at making us much safer than presenting yourself as an occupying force in these communities. You can see it in other cities. There's so much evidence now. I don't think there's much disputing that that's really one of the foundations of policing now, today. Any follow-up?
Well, I mean, are there any other major things that you want to do before you leave? You still have a little bit of time left, so what are you expecting to do over the next several weeks?
Well, I'll be supporting the city manager's management team as we proceed with the budget and the meeting conferred negotiations. I will be obviously saying a lot of goodbyes across this city and inside the departments. Still hadn't made a lot of personal goodbyes yet, so that will take quite a bit of time. And I hope to talk about soon what type of retirement event I want to have. Tradition in our profession is have a retirement party. People come up and talk about your career, and so I'm still planning that. So as soon as I know more details about when, where that will happen, I'll let the department and the city know, so whoever wants to attend something like that can have the opportunity to attend. Alan?
Kind of what she said, would you work with your successor on how to kind of keep that trend going toward community policing? You made a lot of changes to try to bridge that gap and try to reduce the crime rate. Would you continue working with your successor who's reaching out to you, say, is this going to work or is this not going to work?
Like I mentioned, I won't try to do much of this is what you should do kind of conversations with my successor, but I certainly will be a phone call away for as a sounding board and just weigh from my experience what I think, because I've obviously served so long. But I'd really much rather not say today that I'm going to be interjecting on the next successor. That this job is hard enough than to have people trying to tell you what to do. That's done it and gone down the road. It's hard enough. You're juggling so many constituencies between the unions and citizens, city council, city manager, mayors. It's quite a challenging job. So I don't know if you need like another person as a constituent to chime in. So I'm gonna just take calls but not offer, if that makes sense. Lori?
What sort of role did community policing play after the
I think legacies ought to be written by legacy writers. So I'll leave that to you all and to history. I won't try to write my own legacy or comment on it. I think there's enough evidence. I've been here long enough to where I think whatever it is, I think you'll do us justice on that. But what role has community policing played after Dixon Circle? I think that's the most significant thing that happened to the department in decades. We had a near riot. We had a pre-Ferguson event. And without my holding a press conference by the next news cycle, it's likely that we would have been Ferguson before Ferguson was Ferguson. Does that make sense? The rumors were rampant that an unarmed black male was shot in the back. Evidence did not show that then. And there were witnesses to what happened. But to remain silent for police chiefs is a dangerous approach to take. Transparency to the public is foremost the most important thing we as police chiefs can do. And it's very difficult because, not in the Dixon Circle case, but if the officer had shot an unarmed black person in the back, you have to reveal that as well. You have to be willing to, it's almost rule number one, tell your bad news as soon as you can before someone else tells it for you. So that's been my strongest advocacy to my command staff, is just don't try to hide your bad news. Just go ahead and tell your bad news. It is embarrassing to be forced to tell the citizens who you work for, whose tax dollars pay your salary, to have you all make us tell our bad news. So we, as much as we can, we try to admit our bad news and correct it and do better next time. Andrea? Okay, can you say that again?
Yeah, the first one is which were the goals you didn't accomplish and you hoped the next chief.
Oh, okay, which goals that didn't I accomplish and I hope the next chief will accomplish. Again, I don't want to set goals for the next chief. That's not my job. Our work is never done as police chiefs, as police officers. There's always another 911 call, there's always another crisis, there's always another policy concern, change. And so, again, you have to say, you know, I'll be here till I'm 80 if I waited until everything was done, and then things will still be undone. So I'm going to defer that question. I don't know that it's relevant to my retirement to say I wish I had done this, I wish I had done that. I have no regrets. I've accomplished what I sought out to accomplish as a 22-year-old from Oak Cliff to serve my community. And I'm retiring with the satisfaction that I made my mom proud of me, and all of my relatives are happy to see that I've decided to retire. And I just ask that you and others wish me well and keep me in your prayers. Jack?
Morning, Chief.
Morning.
Officers have said that morale has been very low during your tenure as chief. How much responsibility do you take for that?
Boy, no love from Jack Fink this morning. So, again, there are so many constituencies that tug at the coattails of a chief. And I've just taken the position you just can't make everybody happy. You stick to your principles and make tough decisions. And I'll leave that commentary to the officers that told you that, if that makes sense. Because I'm not sure who it was, so I don't know if I'm answering a question to somebody that changed their mind now. So that might not be a concern now, so I don't want to stir that back up, if you don't mind.
Do you have any personal disappointments while you've been in office, while you've been chief?
I never got too low on the low moments, and I'm certainly not getting too high on the high moments. I try to keep it right down the middle. I wish my golf ball did that, but I try to keep it right down the middle and just take things as they come and try as much as I can to keep people encouraged in a very, very difficult job. Much like officers feel, police chiefs feel the same way, not much appreciation. But really, recently, Dallas citizens have stepped up so much. Thank you, exclamation points, or hashtag thank you, whatever you want to say to Dallas citizens who have made this department and its men and women, both sworn and non-sworn, feel appreciated much more than we have in the past. It is really something to see when you go have lunch and no one lets you pay for your meal, or you go out and several people say thank you, pat you on the back, thank you for your service. It is exciting to be a police officer in Dallas, and people hiring on now, you're joining the best department in the country, bar none. There's no question in my mind for the best city that supports law enforcement anywhere. I put the citizens of Dallas up against any city today in its appreciation of its law enforcement personnel, both police and fire. The support we've seen is just off the charts. Rebecca?
Chief, you have been highly praised for the job you did July 7th and afterwards, but just prior to July 7th, critics and associations wanted you out.
Twice, yeah.
Part of that was because of the low morale. Crime rate is still up 10% from this time last year.
But a 50-year low.
And,
But a 50-year low.
but up 10% last year.
Yeah.
So
But a 50-year low, the most dramatic decline in crime of any police chief on record.
and that the department is in disarray and disorganized. How do you answer your critics?
Well, again, critics can be your best teacher. I don't shun criticism, never have. So I have a great appreciation for your sources who told you all that. I just don't get the sense that that's true today. I don't. And so again, I would defer you back to your sources for comments, because it may have changed. And again, this is a happy moment for me. Can you just wish me well in my retirement? Thank you very much, Rebecca. Ken.
Well, Chief, I wish you well in your retirement.
Thank you.
But let me go on to say, ask you why you're wearing street clothes today. I know that you're still a police chief and will be for some weeks to come, and so it seems unusual to see you in street clothes, and I'm wondering why you felt the need to do that today.
I'm hurt, Ken. This is a nice suit. No compliments on the suit. My goodness, I'm hurt. Do you know how much time my wife spent straightening my tie and making sure I didn't have lint on my suit? Okay, well, I'm gonna just say you're welcome. All right, let's go to San.
I could ask a follow-up.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, I just was thinking that
Who's my tailor? Is that the father? Oh, okay, go ahead.
in the interest of transparency
Uh-huh.
and not feeling untouchable, I'd like to ask about two big things that we haven't heard about
Okay.
in recent weeks, and that would be the investigation of the ambush, which may well be unknown, but also the dog attack case, which the police department took over and has said absolutely nothing about since May.
Okay, and
Where do these things stand, and why haven't we heard about it?
okay, so the ambush is under criminal investigation. It's not unusual for a police-involved shooting to take some time. But you've heard a lot about the ambush. I held several press conferences, answered every question to the point of exhaustion. So it's not true that we're not being transparent. What's this investigation is still pending. There were over 200 to 300 statements that had to be taken. And because of the nature of this investigation, losing 5 officers, many of our officers who have to get statements needed a lot more time because of, obviously, the emotional aspects of this is just overwhelming for us, all of us. So we're going to not press our officers to give complete statements till they're ready. We're not going to add to the psychological effects of seeing your brothers killed by pressing for a timeline so we can get it to the media quickly. That's a lot of statements. That's a lot of emotion built into those statements. And so we're obviously going to press ahead, but not at a pace that's going to put our officers' emotional state at risk. On the dog case, I thought we had put out several statements regarding the update on that. There is some forensic analysis that is unusual. Dog DNA and trying to match that is not a normal thing. It's an unusual analysis, and we've tried to exhaust every expert DNA lab to get that. There was some lab analysis here at Dallas County, and then we sent out to other labs outside the state. We're making sure that there's no saliva, nothing on Ms. Brown's clothes that we can match. It has been a very meticulous investigation. I don't recall a dog mauling death in my 33-year career, so it is something that our investigators are really aware of the seriousness, making sure that we can follow the evidence, and if we can prove a case, we will. If we can't, we will let you know that we can. Okay?
Thank you, Chief.
All right. Eric's not here. Sandra? Oh, Eric, I'm sorry. There you are.
You said earlier that you have a story to tell.
Yes.
Is there a possibility that you'll bring it out in the future?
That ain't nobody's business, but mine and my babies. Okay, we got that. Thank you, Eric. Sandra? Oh, did you have a follow-up, Eric? I'm sorry.
What about any hobbies you can do?
Yeah, hobbies. I've got a lot of them. I'm a gym rat, so I love being in the gym, working out and swimming and biking. I love all that. Golfing. I love all that. So I've got a lot of interest outside of any other work that will take up most of my time. I got a family that I love dearly, that I am really looking forward to spending more time with my family. The nature of this job, you don't get a lot of time to spend with your family. The time that you have, you're trying to get a few winks, trying to get some shut-eye. And so you're not very accessible to your family. I don't know if y'all realize this for a police chief of a major city. You really don't want to go more than 2 hours away from the city. So like long vacations that some of you all take on a cruise, you can't do that as a police chief. You got to be here if something happens to your officer at the hospital, consoling the family and his officers. And so it is and I wouldn't have had it any other way. I wouldn't have want to be on a cruise or somewhere so far away that I couldn't get back in time to do what's needed as police chief. But that's just something that you may not just think about off the top of your head. It's one of the challenges of being police chief. You have to be accessible 365, 7 days a week. There's no vacation. Really, the big celebration I'm going to have is turning my phone in to the department. That's a big celebration. I'm just going to shout and just turn my phone in, because that means, you're not being called or emailed or text on some crisis or some event that happened that you have to make a decision on. Okay, Sandra?
Yes, I was going to ask you something similar to Brother Kevin.
Okay. So I got a twofer, huh?
Yeah,
All right.
so if I can ask you something else.
Sure.
I would like to know if you talked to President Obama and if there's anything that you can share with us.
There's anything that?
That you can share about what you talked to President Obama when he was here.
We did, the President and the First Lady, Vice President Biden, the Texas delegation, Senator Cruz, Senator Cornyn, Ms. Pelosi was at the memorial. We spoke. I could just share just kind of, not just the President, just from my takeaway from the memorial and who attended, and the comments they made to me privately were very encouraging. That they saw kind of what we see and have seen, how honorable the men and women of the Dallas Police Department and North Texas law enforcement have performed in this very difficult time to police in this country, and that our efforts in community policing being an example to others. That was the overall comments, and of course the sentiments and condolences were there. Same thing from President George W. Bush and Laura Bush, who have encouraged me from day one. They have been staunch supporters very privately. They've, George W. Bush visited my church quite a bit, attended a Men's Day soon after my son's tragedy, and reached out to me, made it a point in my church to give me a shout out. So that was just, he didn't have to do that. He went way up in my book. So thank you. There's so many people, I just hate to name a few, but there's so many people, July 7th and before, that have been such great supporters of this department and of me personally. Gus?
Is there a certain memory that stands out in your 33 years here in Dallas?
Yeah, it's really funny, Gus. I'm glad you brought that up, man. So when I first got the job, I got a little bump in pay. And my mother needed a new car, right? And so like a good son, I take my mother to the dealership to get her a new car with my bump in pay. And I almost called the police on my mother, just to be quite honest with you. I had not been in a car with her for over 30 years. I was a very young man last time I was a passenger in the car. My mother test drove the car around the block. I seriously wanted to call 911. She was violating every traffic rule. She didn't turn around and look when she backed up. When she merged with traffic, she didn't care who was beside her. And by the time I got back to the dealership, man, I was pouring down sweating, wondering if this was a good investment. I bought her the car, and my mother's something else, but I love her dearly. And that's the funniest moment, because I went there and everybody recognized me because I had just gotten appointed, and so, it's just terrifying moment with my mother as a passenger. So that's one of my fondest memories of trying to do the right thing, but my mother getting a new car and just, she scared the life out of me. So, Royce?
Chief Brown, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Been raised in Oakland. Say, for instance, a young kid trying to continue in the future from elementary school or high school, and say, I want to become a police officer. What is the listening?
If a young kid coming up like me in the inner city says to me, I want to be a police officer, first thing I would do is ask, but do you want to serve citizens? You got to make sure you want to serve. The second thing I would ask, and I'm asking today, is part of what I'm seeking to do in my next phase of life. Don't quit. Don't you quit on me if you start. Finish what you start. That's what I would tell young people today, is that there's such a need for our, particularly young people of color, to participate in public service much more. That these problems won't be solved without them participating. And once they get in, they'll see the challenges that basically you see from the outside differently than you are on the inside. There are much more challenges. And I would say, yes, it's difficult, but don't you quit on me. We need you. I'm looking forward to the day I'm asked. Actually, I'm going to seek out those opportunities with young people of color to make sure they get those encouraging words from me. It's not just put down the protest sign and put in an application. It's that this democracy demands our participation. That's how it works, is that people participate in it, which means become a part of public service. From the inside out, make changes. There are some changes that can be made from the outside in. That's true. But we're hiring. We need your help. We cannot solve these problems without our critics getting involved. We can't. I just see that people have this idea that we're going to force change from a culture that's resistant to change. You have to get involved. You have to hire on like I did and become a part of the solution and take the lows and the highs and the bumps and the bruises and don't quit. And 33 years later, you'll look back and you'll be pleased with your work. I promise you, it'll be a very rewarding career to hire on with the Dallas Police Department. Matt?
As you move forward and as you're not the chief anymore, how important is it going to be for you to continue to be a resource and an outlet for the officers and the families who are impacted by July 7th?
Very important. That's one thing usually that happens when the dust settles after someone is killed in the line of duty. Some of the families don't hear from people. Maybe the partners keep, in contact, but that's having gone through it, you feel lonely. You feel all alone. And it is so important for our department to understand is that we will never forget these families. And we can never not check on them, see how they're doing. Not just every annual memorial service. We have to check on them regularly and let them know that we're here for them and that we're a part of their family. And it's got to be sincere and authentic. We got to mean it, so when they need us, we need to be there to do the things that they need done. And I made that pledge to them, and I plan on following through with that pledge to my last breath. There's an open seat, but I think, okay, there you go. So you're not sitting where you're supposed to be sitting. Okay, go ahead.
Well, my colleagues have asked pretty much, everything all of us want to know, but did the day that you become a Dallas police officer, did you think that you would have the journey that you had, be leaving 3 decades later as a top cop?
Absolutely not. You couldn't have told me that I had an opportunity to be police chief. It has been quite a journey. It has been exciting, rewarding, disappointing. It has been the most fascinating career that anybody could imagine. I used to tell the story to my good friends on the department. No one will ever believe these stories. No one will believe that this happened or that happened. I spent 7 years in SWAT running a lot of drug warrants in my old neighborhood. And the stories I had to tell about my SWAT years, nobody ever believed that stuff happened. Some of it's funny, some of it's dangerous, and we survived. And it's just, cops have a sick sense of humor, so we got jokes that we can tell about the funny things people did that were some of the most dangerous things you could do, but we laugh about it later. Just to keep our sensibilities, to stay sane, we laugh about the most tragic things. So it has been so rewarding. And I just want to, for the media gallery here, man, I just thank y'all for challenging us. It's your job to challenge government, to keep us honest. Like Thomas Jefferson said, I'd much rather have the free press and no government than government and no free press. Just think about that. So thank you all for the role you play. I would just ask, endeavor to tell the whole story, both sides. Endeavor to continue to challenge us, but also to challenge your sources for their accuracy, as well as you challenge our facts for its accuracy. But I thank you all, man. This is a good day. I have no regrets, no complaints, and I really appreciate. And real quickly, this has been fairly short, not 30 minutes yet, so 2 more questions and then I got to call it. Yes, Ed.
I'd like to follow up on, talk about, I think one of the things that resonated so profoundly on a national level after the July tragedy was when you talked about bridging that gap between the police departments across the country and many minority communities that
Right.
feel disenfranchised. And you alluded to that that's probably something you'd like to see yourself do next working toward that.
Right.
With that in mind, when you see what's going on now in the NFL, Colin Kaepernick kneeling for the national anthem, can you speak to that?
Well, we've got great examples here of sports figures like Emmitt Smith, Roger Staubach, Tony Dorsett. There were several that came and worked with Albertsons to donate for the families. So I wouldn't want to look at just one voice in the sports field to point out as good, bad, or indifferent. What's encouraging is that sports figures are trying to find a way to have a voice in this discussion. Many of these players are from the inner cities like me and have firsthand experienced these kinds of problems. And so I would like to have some influence on how not just sports figures, but others can have a role. And let me just say this.
Do you think you should have done, do you think you should do that, or does it bother you that it does it, or?
Let me just say this on this subject. I wish our officers could throw a fastball or run for 1,000 yards or dunk a basketball or win a Super Bowl and be compensated for it. Just think about what we're talking about, is that public servants like officers and teachers and firefighters, and how the public values entertainment over public service. We're in a tough negotiation to increase our budget to give officers a raise. But if we were the best player on the team, we'd get a max contract. Close to what our whole department is asking for is an increase. And even average ball players get more than people willing to give their lives for our safety. And it's not a knock on the council or the mayor or the city manager. Please don't take it away. This is what the public values. These are only our representatives. You pay for what you value. You pay for what you value. If you value sports entertainment much more than you value an officer willing to die for your protection, I don't know what these players make off the top of my head, but it's multi-million dollars. Officers make $44 grand to risk their lives. And so I would just encourage us as citizens, and I'm soon to be a private citizen, to also have a voice as it relates to what you value with your tax dollars or with your money as it relates to paying for a ticket to build a stadium supported by taxpayer dollars, or paying $12 for a beer so that the player can get a max contract. I think you ought to think about this in much broader terms of American culture, what we value. Why are our cops and teachers and firefighters paid so little, and our sports and other entertainment figures paid so much? And how do we reconcile that in our minds? Is it how does entertainment play into our democracy? So again, I know you got follow-ups on that, but Bridget, can you mind hitting it, Bridget? Because I'm about to head out, man. I don't have a mic to drop, but I'm telling you right now, we'll see y'all later.